All right, Chairman.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The Board of Adjustment is now in session. My name is Anthony Robinson, and I will be chairing today's meeting. Attending today's virtual meeting are board members Irene Saul, Mona Parsley, Mel DeSimone, and Joe Klitzing. Also in attendance for the city is Mary Hart Burton, Zoning Administrator for the city, Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the city, who will represent the city in the cases we are hearing today, and Andrea Gutierrez, Lead Zoning Specialist. Our attorney for the board is Archer Mellon, and our court reporter is Colin Wallace. Today we will be hearing 5 cases. First, we will hear from the city's representative, who will explain why the permit could not be issued. Next, we will hear from the applicant and/or the representative of the project. Then we will hear from those in favor of the appeal, and then from those opposed. Please be concise, as testimony will be limited to 3 minutes per person. When you come online via video or telephone, please wait to be sworn in by the court reporter. Then please state your name and mailing address. To ensure proper records for our court reporter, we ask those online or on the telephone to please remain on mute. Following testimony on all of today's cases, the board will go into its deliberative portion of the hearing, at which time we will vote on all cases heard. The board will notify each applicant and/or representative of its decision by mail in about 2 weeks. You are welcome to remain during deliberations. However, we will not hear additional testimony at that time. You may also call the lead zoning specialist, Drea, tomorrow at 314-622-3666 to learn the outcome of your appeal. Again, the number is 314-622-3666. Drea, will you read appeal number 11915?
And just a quick correction before she does. Our court reporter today is Julie Kearns, Lexitas.
I'm sorry about that.
All right, Jay.
Appeal number 11915, 2342 through 44, St. Louis Avenue.
Julie, I'll be sworn in first.
You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Good afternoon, board members. My name is Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the City of St. Louis, and I'll be representing the Building Commissioner. I'm here to present evidence of an appeal to convert a 2-family dwelling into a multifamily dwelling with 3 units per plans at 2342-44 St. Louis Avenue. I'd like to present as evidence for this case photos and aerials of the said property, plans for the project, and a certified copy of the City of St. Louis zoning ordinance. The basis for denial of Anthony Robinson concerning the building commissioner's refusal to issue a building permit authorizing the petitioner to convert a 2-family dwelling to a 3-family multifamily dwelling per plans at 2342-44 St. Louis Avenue in City Block number 4103.05 is as follows. The present zoning for this address is the A single-family dwelling district. The intent of the applicable zoning provisions are to conserve the values of property throughout the city of St. Louis and protect the character and stability of residential, business, and industrial areas. It's also to regulate and restrict the location and use of buildings, structures, and land for trade, industry, residence, and other uses, and to regulate and restrict the intensity of such uses. Applicable zoning code provisions are section 26.16.020, structure prohibited. No structure shall be erected, placed, enlarged, or structurally altered unless such action shall make the premises upon which it shall stand conform to the regulations for the district in which the premises are located, unless authorized by other provisions of the zoning code. Also, section 26.20.020 and or 26.20.025, use regulations and conditional uses of the A single-family dwelling district do not allow the petitioner's proposal as stated above. Evidence of lawful nonconformity has not been presented. In summary, the applicant is applying for a building permit to convert a two-family dwelling into a multifamily dwelling that will have 3 units. In the A district, multifamily dwellings are not a permitted use, and therefore a use variance would be required prior to approval. Just a slight correction from the plan reviewer's notes. They actually do provide 3 parking spaces. 2 will be in the covered carport garage, and then 1 will be a surface parking pad adjacent to that. The City of St. Louis Planning and Urban Design Agency states that there's no adopted neighborhood plan covering this location. The 2005 Strategic Land Use Plan called this area a neighborhood preservation area. The granting of a variance is in keeping with the neighborhood preservation area's intent to promote quality rehabilitation and that is sensitive to the character of existing residences. The 2025 Strategic Land Use Plan calls this area medium intensity corridor. The granting of a variance would be in keeping with this designation's intent of supporting a mix of uses and many types of housing, including multi-unit homes, which would add to the density and support the walkability of the corridor. Therefore, planning staff finds the request of appeal number 11915 is in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan. Are there any questions for me from the board?
Okay, well, since I will be presenting this appeal, can I have Commissioner Klitzing handle the chair of this? You're muted.
So in other words, Anthony, you're going to recuse yourself at this point?
I am going to recuse myself at this point, yes.
Okay. At this point in time, I'd like to talk to the appellant. Have him sworn in, please. Which is Mr. Robinson.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Tell us about your project, Mr. Robinson.
So we've got an existing two-family residence that the owner is looking to convert into 3-family. There are a number of multifamilies on the block, and in fact on the south side of the street. The owner actually owns one, which is a 4-family, and there are a couple of other 4 families on the block on that side of the street, with several, I believe there are about 6 2-families on that side of the block. So I think converting this 3-story or 2.5-story 2-family into a 3-family is in keeping with what's on the block.
Any board members have any questions? Thank you, Anthony. Is there anyone else in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone in opposition to this appeal? Hearing none, I'd like to enter the following exhibits. Certified copy of the zoning ordinance, appeal to the board, basis for denial, meeting notice letter, City Journal public notices, photographs, Sanborn map, A memo from Planning and Urban Design Agency, and I'll consider this case as having been heard. Dre, would you please read appeal number, whatever's next,
119.
11918.
Appeal number 11918, 4630 Lindell Boulevard.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Again, good afternoon, board members. My name is Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the City of St. Louis, and I'll be representing the Building Commissioner. I'm here to present evidence of an appeal to make exterior alterations for a hotel patio renovation per plans at 4630 Lindell Boulevard. I'd like to present as evidence for this case photos and aerials of the said property, plans for the project, and a certified copy of the City of St. Louis zoning ordinance. The basis for denial of Kendrick Design Construction, care of Bill Elliott, concerning the building commissioner's refusal to issue a building permit authorizing the petitioner to make exterior alterations for a hotel patio renovation per plans at 4630 Lindell Boulevard in city block number 3893.00 is as follows. The present zoning for this address is the Central West End form-based district, Boulevard Type 1, and underlying Zone E, multiple family dwelling district. The intent of the applicable zoning provisions are to prevent additions to and alterations or remodeling of existing buildings and structures in such a way as to avoid the limitations lawfully imposed. The applicable zoning code provisions are ordinance number 69406, and evidence of lawful nonconformity has not been presented. In summary, the applicant is applying for a building permit to make exterior alterations to expand the hotel's restaurant patio by adding an ancillary canopy or pavilion structure. Per the regulations of the the Central West End Form-Based Code, Boulevard Type 1, in the envelope standards, hotels are not a permitted use in this district, neither on the ground floor or upper floors. Per section 3.7, Roman numeral 5. Therefore, this project is an expansion or addition to the hotel restaurant, and because hotels are not permitted use, a use variance would be required prior to approval. In addition, the envelope standards do not permit ancillary buildings per section 5.8. The patio canopy pavilion is an ancillary building in use. Because ancillary buildings are not a permitted use in the form-based code, an additional use variance will be required prior to approval. The City of St. Louis Planning and Urban Design Agency states that this falls within the Central West End Form-Based District Neighborhood Plan. The 2005 Strategic Land Use Plan calls this a specialty mixed use area, and the granting of a variance is in keeping with the specialty mixed use area's intent to promote the development and preservation of unique mix of uses. The 2025 Strategic Land Use Plan calls this area a Central Area West, and the granting of variance would be in keeping with the designation's intent of supporting larger scale buildings and a dense mix of uses, including hotels, on or near transit corridors which support walkability and bikeability. Therefore, planning staff finds the request of appeal number 11918 is in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan. Are there any questions from the board?
Okay, let's hear from the appellant. Mr. Elliott.
Can the board hear me okay?
Yes. Let's get you sworn in.
Okey-doke.
Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God.
Okay, can you state your name and mailing address for the record?
My name is Bill Elliott. My mailing address is 7552 Manchester, Maplewood, Missouri, 63143.
Okay, proceed with your testimony.
We're at developing the design of a garden space, as Evan had stated. We are trying to take out the large asphaltic sea pavement that is there and create more of a garden atmosphere and a gathering place for the interior functions that are taking place, and to keep something design-wise with the canopy that's in keeping with the original construction period of the building. It's the old Holiday Inn down on Lindell, and keeping in with that modern style. We're working with Bob Bettis over at the Cultural Resources Board on final color selections, ways of addressing some of the finishes that are on the small ancillary structure inside, and trying to create a gathering place within the local community.
Okay, any board members have any questions for Mr. Elliott? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone here in favor of this appeal? Mr. Abbott, let's get you sworn in.
You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, can you state your name and mailing address for the record?
Matt Abbott, 2552 West 118th Terrace, Leawood, Kansas, 66211.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony.
I'm the property owner of the hotel. We're converting it into a Hotel Indigo, Central West End. We've also acquired the Bank of America building across the street to give us plenty of additional parking. That property across the street has about 225 parking spaces. We're excited about this project. We believe it's going to add something to that location, the Central West End, which is going to create a lot more community and connectivity. And, we've been working on this project for a long time. It was originally the Bel Air Motel, and it was built originally in 1957 and opened up in 1958 as the Bel Air Motel. We think it's a very significant historic landmark that we're excited about bringing back to life. When we took over this property, it was dilapidated and the building systems were they were all original to the building. Since we've gone through the entire hotel and updated all the systems, and this is the final piece for us to be able to turn this into the Hotel Indigo Central West End flag that is required by IHG. So we're excited about the future of this location and what it's going to do for the Central West End.
Okay. Any board members have any questions? No. Thanks, Mr. Abbott. Is there anyone else here in favor of this appeal? Okay, is there anyone here in opposition to this appeal? Okay, with that, I will read into the record exhibits, certified copy of the zoning ordinance, appeal to the board, basis of denial, meeting notice letter, City Journal public notices, photographs, Sanborn maps, memo from Planning and Urban Design, Cultural Resources Office review signed by Bob Bettis, a letter of support from James Dwyer, Chair of the Central West End Planning and Development Committee, a letter of support from Alderman Michael Browning, and rendering of the project. And with that, I will consider this appeal having been heard. Drea, can you read appeal number 11919?
Number 11919, 3901 Forest Park Avenue.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Again, my name is Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the City of St. Louis, and I'll be representing the Building Commissioner. I'm here to present evidence of an appeal to construct a mixed-use multifamily building per plan, zoning only at 3901 Forest Park Avenue. I'd like to present as evidence for this case, photos and aerials of the said property, plans for the project, and a certified copy of the City of St. Louis zoning ordinance. The basis for denial of Stock and Associates, care of George M. Stock, concerning the building commissioner's refusal to issue a building permit, authorizing the petitioner to construct a mixed-use multifamily building per plan zoning only at 3901 Forest Park Avenue in city block number 3919.04 is as follows. The present zoning for this address is the Central West End Form-Based District, Boulevard Type 2, also the underlying Zone J, Industrial District. The intent of the applicable zoning provisions are to fix reasonable standards to which buildings and structures shall conform. The applicable zoning code provisions are ordinance number 69406 and also section 26.16.085E, bicycle parking requirements, off-street parking reduction for bicycle parking. The total number of vehicle of off-street parking spaces required under the zoning code shall be reduced at a ratio of 1 automobile off-street parking space for each 1 bicycle space provided. The total number of required automobile off-street parking spaces, however, shall not be reduced by more than 10% for any newly developed or rehabilitated structure. Evidence of lawful nonconformity has not been presented. In summary, the applicant is applying for a zoning-only building permit to construct a mixed-use building located in the Central West End Form-Based District, Boulevard Type 2. The project will include 272 off-street parking spaces, approximately 8,200 square feet of commercial space on the ground level, and a total of 310 dwelling units between floors 1 through 7. Per the regulations of the Central West End Form-Based Code, the envelope standards require that the finished ground floor level is permitted no more than 6 inches above the back of the sidewalk or adjacent lot level, section 3.8, Roman numeral 2L. An area variance is required for the finished floor ground level along Forest Park Avenue, which will exceed that 6 inches above the sidewalk. The envelope standards require that the first floor ceiling height be 12 feet minimum and 25 feet maximum floor to ceiling, and that's covered by section 3.8, Roman numeral 2M. An area variance is required for a first floor ceiling height of 10 feet. The envelope standards also require 1 space per dwelling unit and 1 space for every 700 square feet in excess of 3,000 square feet of primary retail spaces. Section 3.8, Roman numeral 6. However, there is bicycle parking reduction provided by the underlying zoning code, which is section 26.16.085E. But they still don't meet the requirements. So an area variance is required for the lack of parking. A total of 319 off-street parking spaces would typically be required for this project. The bicycle parking reduction allows for a reduction of 10%, which would be 288 off-street parking spaces, leaving the project short 16 spaces because they're only providing 272 off-street parking spaces. The development standards of the Central West End Form-Based Code state that when an alley is present, parking and services shall be accessed from the alley, section 4.1.10, Roman numeral 2, number 4. An area variance is required for access to parking from the primary street. The development standards also require the primary building material be 75% of the primary building facade, section 4.3.1B2A. And 2 area variances are required for deviation of that requirement. There is a 29% deviation in primary material on the primary facade of Forest Park Avenue, and 32% deviation in material on the primary facade of Vandevetter Avenue. So in total, that's 6 area variances. The City of St. Louis Planning and Urban Design Agency states that this falls within the Central West End Form-Based District Neighborhood Plan. The 2005 Strategic Land Use Plan calls this a specialty mixed-use area. The granting of variance is in keeping with the specialty mixed-use area's intent to promote the development and preservation of a unique mix of uses. And then the 2025 Strategic Land Use Plan calls this the Central Areas West. And the granting of a variance would be in keeping with the designation's intent of supporting larger scale buildings and a dense mix of uses, including taller buildings with many units on or near transit corridors, which support walkability and bikeability. Therefore, planning staff finds the request of appeal number 11919 is in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan. Are there any questions from the board?
Can we just review that parking real quick again, please, Evan?
Yes. All right, so this project would typically require a total of 319 off-street parking spaces. However, they can apply the 10% reduction, which makes their total requirement 288 off-street parking spaces. They are providing 272 off-street parking spaces, so they're still short 16 spaces.
And how much is for the commercial aspect?
Good question. I don't recall if they separated the designations in terms of their plans showing specifically for residents versus commercial, but we can ask them.
Okay, we'll ask. Thank you.
Are there any other board members who have questions? Okay, let's hear from the appellant, Mr. Stock. Let's get you sworn in.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Well, thank you and good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is George Stock. I'm with Stock & Associates Consulting Engineers, and my address is 257 Chesterfield Business Parkway. That is St. Louis, Missouri, 63005. This afternoon, I'm here on behalf of DMG Investments, the owner under contract of 3901 Forest Park Avenue. Our entire team is on this call to be able to answer any questions as I go through the presentation the board may have. With us is from DMG Investments is Mr. Kean Hamill, Ben Dollar. They're the owners under contract. From the architectural team, which is Roseman Architects, we have Jared Cooper, Brittany Camp-Schaefer, Spencer Reed, and then from our office, myself and Jake Beanie. So I will go through each variance request one by one. I think I need to share my screen here just a moment.
Oh, George, we don't share screens. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
They keep the information you provided.
Okay. Well, graphics always help us. So anyway, my apologies. So I'll just start with the first, the envelope standards, which is section 3.8, Roman numeral 2L, which is related to the finished floor of the building and the 6-inch elevation above the back of the curb. So this particular site, which is the northwest corner of Forest Park Avenue and South Vandeventer, is not a flat site. Starting in the northeast corner of Vandeventer, the elevation is 472, and then the elevation at the intersection of Vandeventer and Forest Park Parkway is 468.54, so 3.14 feet of fall across that elevation. And then along the Forest Park Avenue, we go from elevation 468.54 to 465.40. And that is 393 feet, 3.14 feet. And I apologize, it's 3.53 feet of elevation change across Vandeventer. The building has been set with a finished floor elevation of 470.25, which allows ADA access to both the south face, which is Forest Park Avenue, as well as the east face, which is Vandeventer, where the 8,200 square feet of commercial space is located. So of the total length of the property, 393 along Forest Park, 177 along Vandeventer, only 100 feet is compliant with the 6-inch, so 17.5%. So our request for a variance is for 82.5% of the sidewalk. And again, that ranges anywhere from 6 inches to 5 feet. The second request that we have before you is, again, envelope standards. It's section 3.8, Roman numeral 2, item M, which relates to the finished floor elevation, first floor, finished floor, which is a minimum of 12 feet, a maximum of 25 feet. Our building is designed with 10 feet of finished floor. The majority of the first floor is a residential parking garage, and then the majority of the frontage along Vandeventer is the commercial. It does wrap the corner on the southeast side of Vandeventer as commercial space. But the renderings, which, yes,
How big is that commercial space?
8,200 square feet.
What's the dimensions of that exactly?
Unfortunately, so again, I don't have a graphic, so it would be
Mine's small. I can't see it real well.
Yeah, it's all the commercial frontage is along Vandeventer, and then it wraps one bay along Forest Park going to the west. So the length of the street on Vandeventer, the frontage on Vandeventer, I mentioned that a moment ago, is about 177 feet. So I'm going to say about 150 feet of commercial space along Vandeventer, and then approximately 40 feet wrapping the corner going west.
That works for me. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So again, we don't comply with the 12-foot minimum. We're requesting that to be 10 feet. As I mentioned, the commercial area, the first floor is minimal when you compare to the overall building, the 8,200 square feet. And the primary elevations have been given special care to present the visual scale of the commercial storefront as tall, interesting, and approachable. And I believe you have the elevations and you have the perspectives. You know, the perspectives, there were two of them in the package, one looking from Vandeventer in a southwest direction and one looking from the intersection of Vandeventer and Forest Park in a northeast direction, so that you can see the character of the building. The third variance that we're requesting is the envelope standards. This has to do with the parking, section 3.8, Roman numeral 6, and section 26.16085, which refers to the bicycle. So Evan, certainly appreciate what you had indicated. And I think either we have a discrepancy or you have a discrepancy. We had calculated the required parking to be 318 spaces. I heard you say 319 spaces. I'm not saying you're wrong. But the question that I heard was, how many are they designated between the residential and how many are designated between the commercial? So it's 310 spaces designated to residential, 8 to commercial. And that's based on the code, which is 1 space per dwelling unit, plus 1 space for every 700 square feet in excess of the 3,000 of the primary retail space. We came up with 318. Certainly what we agree that Evan mentioned is that the fact that we're providing 272 parking spaces. We have 40 bicycle racks provided, and those are distributed between the south side along Forest Park, serving the residential, and then also along the east side, serving the commercial. In addition, what we do have the benefit of this particular site, and again, this is right across the street from IKEA, is we currently have 14 parallel parking spaces. So the 272 plus 14 parking would put us at the 286. Our request to you, though, is a variance to allow 272 spaces be provided. And the 14 parallel spaces, and full transparency and discussions with the fire marshal, we may be losing 2 of those. There may be a designated fire bay, and so it may be 12. But right now, it's as submitted to you in the drawings. There are 14 spaces. The next variance request is related to the alley. And unfortunately, not being able to display anything, I could really a picture's a thousand words. So this particular alley, which is the north side of our building, is encumbered with overhead lines, power poles. In addition, the buildings that are on the north side, there's as many as 8 dumpsters that are on the back of the building that actually encroach into the alley, narrowing it, making it not possible cars to make lefts or rights out into it. In addition, frequently there is delivery trucks parked in the alley, blocking the ability for vehicular. So our request is to have our vehicular access to the garage at our southwest corner onto Forest Park Avenue. There is a median break in Forest Park Avenue. It's a little bit further west, so we would be shifting that median break, not narrowing it, maintaining the full landscape that's out there, but just shifting a little bit further east. And again, that is our request, is to not have access to the alley, but to Forest Park Avenue. The last particular,
Question.
I'm sorry, yes.
Have you done any type of parking study or traffic study and how that's going to affect Forest Park right there?
We have not done a traffic study. We are again from the intersection. Again, if you look at Vandeventer Avenue and Forest Park Avenue, and if you look at the site plan, what I had mentioned, we have 393 feet of frontage. So we are about 370 feet from the intersection. We're well beyond the left turn bays to for anybody going eastbound on Forest Park to make a northbound movement on South Vandeventer. So we don't believe that we are, with that median shift, about 30 feet to the east, that will have any adverse impact. We have shared the drawing with Streets and Board of Public Service, have had no comment relative to that, as far as opposition. But again, that proximity is much further from the intersection than the Vandeventer. The Vandeventer, the alley is only 177 feet north. So we do think we have it. While there hasn't been a traffic study, that it's in a strategic location. And again, the way this functions, and I'm sure you're familiar with the residential component, there's not really an AM or PM. It's more dispersed as to when cars come in and out of the facility, whereas Forest Park and Vandeventer probably function more under an AM, PM, more heavily trafficked. And the other part about this building and part of that parking reduction, and the drives are somewhat related, is, the proximity of this building with Cortex, St. Louis University, the hospital system. We really see this as a very walkable place for people, people to live that are employed, use bicycles, use the pedestrian, use the public services. So we don't see it as a heavily trafficked, vehicular. And again, that's separation. So hopefully that addressed the question.
Kind of hard to know if you didn't do a traffic study, if that's how it's going to go, though.
Well, I think
that way, you can see it that way, but is it the reality of that way?
Well, I think the reality is, well, yes, I do think it's the reality. I mean, while we haven't done a traffic study specific to this, the mixed use of this is not dissimilar from many other multifamily, residential developments. And I'm very confident speaking on the distribution of the people that would be, living here, and the traffic patterns are not typically heavy. Unlike a residential with kids, and again, somebody gets up AM to take the kids to school, and even then it's more mid-afternoon, but there's just not that heavy 7:30 to 8:30 in and out of this building, and 4:30 to 6 p.m. Out of this building. The residential is more of a dispersed pattern versus a peak hour. And that's just from experience. Again, not a specific traffic study to this, but that's just my professional opinion.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Ready
right.
for the next one? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'll move on. And that is development standards. And that is
Mr. Stock, I have a question that probably would affect before then. You mentioned that there's 8 dumpsters in the alley. I know you have a recessed trash receptacle area on the alley.
Yes.
How are you going to deliver the furniture and everything else for this many apartments? Where's the loading and unloading?
I think they would use those spaces, the parallel spaces that are in front of Forest Park Avenue. Again,
so you're
when we
going to
build
unload 230 units of apartments on parallel parking on the street without a loading area or designation. So it depends upon who's parking on those spaces, whether or not you're going to get them in there.
Well,
I don't think it is planned
yeah,
out very well.
yeah, I think with regards to, and quite frankly, I was talking more about the building being built and the building being furnished. How tenants move into the space, I honestly can't answer that question. How the tenants would, move in. Perhaps they would use the alley at that point, but I was more talking about the construction, the building, deliver materials. We would have a lane drop, and basically those parallel spaces, which aren't used today. I mean, if you go out there today, the site's empty, so there is no utilization. So there would be a lane drop and allow the Forest Park Avenue northbound or westbound to continue. But 288 tenants aren't going to move in one day. So it'd be spread out. And I wish I could tell you definitively. And there's others on this call that might be able to, whether it's the owner, to be let in and testify if they have the specific answer to the move-in. But I don't, sir.
Okay.
We're gonna need that.
Well, there he is. I see Kean. Just we can
right.
swear him in.
Great,
The
let's
owner.
talk to him.
Perfect. Swear him in.
Good afternoon.
Just a second. Do any other board members have any questions for Mr. Stock? All right. Now then, is there anyone here to testify in favor of this appeal?
Anthony, let's ask Mr. Stock if he was done with his presentation. I didn't mean to stop it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Mr. Stock, were you complete with your presentation, or did you have additional testimony?
I have, sir, thank you. I have one more to cover. So,
Okay.
Evan had covered. I'm sorry. So we have one more variance request, which is section 4.0, the building development standard. And again, this one is section 4.3.1, point B or B to A. And this relates to the primary building materials must comprise 75% of the primary building facade. And of the primary, we're using premium materials, but the primary materials are deviating from that 75%. And we have as Evan mentioned, a 29% deviation materials on the front facade, which is the primary street, Forest Park Avenue. And we have a 32% deviation on the other primary street, which is Vandeventer. As indicated in the package submitted, all the exterior building materials, especially those facing primary streets, are of premium quality. The primary material, fiber cement panels, are used as a reduced percentage to allow the building elevation to be more articulated and interesting in conjunction with the other premium materials and massing strategies. And we do believe that we have strong support from the neighborhood, and particularly Cortex. There had been a minimum of 2, maybe 3 meetings with Cortex going through the project and the architectural elevations and changes to the building to garner that letter of support, which is in your package. And then most recently, Alderman Browning offered support as well. As I mentioned, the architect is on the phone and may want to elaborate a little bit further. But sir, that does conclude our variance request. And I'm available as others from our team to answer the questions. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Stock. Any board members have any questions beyond those asked? Okay, so before I ask for those in favor of this appeal, I'm going to ask Alderman Browning. He's got his hand up. You've got a question or comment?
Sorry, if you're not to the testifying in favor yet, I'll wait till then.
Okay, thank you. All right. Those here to testify in favor of this appeal? Let's actually start with the architect donor, and then we'll hear from the others. Hi.
Hi there, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Let's get you sworn in.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, and then state your name and mailing address for the record.
Good afternoon, my name is Kian Hamill. I am a representative of DMG Development LLC, and we have an address at 28 Liberty Street, New York, New York, 10006.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to introduce the project very briefly to elaborate on what Mr. Stock had said. This is intended to be a residential development to serve young professionals that are transitioning from St. Louis University to beginning their careers within the Cortex Innovation District. So this will be a walkable residential opportunity for those young professionals. Given our target demographic, we have conducted some market studies that indicate that parking utilization at the building will be approximately 60 to 80% of the available parking spaces. And that is based on research of comparable properties managed by a company called 2D Residential, who we intend to use as the property manager for this particular development. Our ideal retail tenant would be someone similar to Quarrelsome Coffee, which is the coffee shop down the street on Van Deventer. They have ample parking out front at all times of the day, including in the mornings, before rush hour, during rush hour, and after. And given that we do feel that we will have plenty of parking both on street and within the building. And to answer the previous question regarding the alleyway, we will have a service entrance in the alleyway that will facilitate residential move-ins and move-outs. It will also facilitate trash collection and deliveries for the retail space. And I really do believe that this is going to be an enormous economic benefit to the neighborhood and a great contribution to the Cortex district. That is all. Thank you.
How is it that they're going to do the move in from the alley exactly? Because I don't see an entrance from the alley to the first floor on the plans from the garage area. I only see an entrance from the front.
So there will be a rolling gate in the alleyway that will facilitate the trash room. The trash room will be large enough to have a trash compactor and have ample space to roll in and out containers and dumpsters. That will also be utilized for move-ins and move-outs, or there may also be a second separate rolling gate as well. I'm not sure if that is detailed on the plan that you're looking at, but we do have the architects present who can maybe speak to that in more detail.
The site plan does show the paved areas, shaded gray, on the north side. One that's kind of at the east, which butts right up with the commercial retail, then another one a little bit further west, and about the center of the building.
I see the trash recycle main entrance. Is that what you're talking about? Which is right next to the parking?
That's correct.
So
Right,
move-in is going to be at the trash dumpsters.
That's correct. This will be a maintained trash room that's going to be cleaned every single day by on-site staff. This is not going to be a dirty dumpster room.
This is an inside area?
That's correct. It is an interior room.
That has a rolling gate?
That's correct.
And that's the only way we're allowing move-in?
I'm going to defer to Jared Cooper. I believe he has his hand raised. He's the architect, and he may be able to provide additional detail on whether we are going to be providing a second rolling gate.
All right, well, we'll let him talk about it then.
Okay, any other board members have any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's see. Let's hear from Mr. Cooper.
You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Oh, I can't.
We could not hear you, Mr. Cooper.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry. Yes,
so,
I do.
Thank you. State your name and mailing address for the record.
Sure. I'm Jarrett Cooper with Roseman and Associates Architects, 168 North Merrimack, 63105.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony.
Yes, so I wanted to try to address a couple of things real quick and make sure that I was available to answer some questions for you about the primary elevations as well. But let's start with the move-in, move-out issue. So in the planning of this, the plan that you have is, a very good design development set. So there are tweaks still being made on these plans. And that's one of the issues that we're addressing. So there will be an adequate move in, move out from the back of the building. And as George had mentioned earlier, at the front of the building, there will also be potentially some designated loading zone area, specifically addressing fire department access in front of the building, but also to be utilized as potential move in, move out opportunity. But primarily, we're laying it out so that you will, as Kian mentioned, be able to come through a back door to the building from the alley into the building, not through the garage, but into the building and access the elevators for move in, move out.
Are there any elevators along the north side of the building? Or do they have to cart all the furniture all the way through the building to the south side to get on the elevators there?
They do, Mr. Klitzing. They in this case, we looked at providing multiple elevator opportunities, and again, with the number of residents, we felt like providing 2 elevators would be adequate to serve this population, and so we thought it was more important for daily use to have that at the front of the building as well. On the elevations of the building. Okay.
I have concern about 4 people moving in on the same day. If you have 4 people moving in, all their furniture is not going to fit in with the trash dumpsters, the compactor, and everything else in that trash room. Where are you going to put that furniture while it's moving to a freight elevator or whatever to go upstairs? I do not see that working as a solution to filling this building up and on a continuing basis moving in and out. I don't think this solution that you're presenting is actually one that works. You already told us that you don't want to use the alleys in and out of the garage because there's too much junk there. Now you're saying that you're going to do all the deliveries into that alley. And the traffic. I just don't see it as a solution that can work. But that's just my personal opinion, and I am not really satisfied with your answers.
Yeah, Joe, we'd certainly be willing
in the front?
What was that?
I'm sorry.
So how's that going to work in the front?
So in the
there
front,
doesn't seem to be a plan.
Yeah, in the front, there would be loading zone area directly in front of the main entrance, and there is a ramp system to take you from the sidewalk up to that main entrance, which is would be an accessible route to bring furniture and belongings in and out of the building as well. One other comment that is on the site planning. And then one other comment, Mr. Klitzing, on the bringing furniture, bringing other things in and out of the back of the building. One thing that is being developed at the same time is that we do have the ability to put a man gate at the back of the parking structure as well, and bring somebody in and out through that parking structure. We specifically wanted to avoid the daily traffic of all residents potentially coming in and out of that garage through the alleyway. That was the issue that we were trying to avoid. The alley is utilized, and as George had mentioned, the alley is utilized currently, and there are deliveries and box trucks and trash. Everything's being serviced out of that alleyway right now. So we would not be adding significantly to that by limiting it to service type uses in the alleyway.
If I may just answer a previous question.
Okay, so
who's this talking? Are they sworn in?
Yes, we need to. Give me a second. How do we? What we'll do is actually come back to you. If you hold your question or hold your comment, we'll come back and allow you to speak.
And I would ask that, if there are any further questions concerning the primary elevations, I'd be glad to answer any questions on those this time.
I have an additional question. What page does it show on where the loading zone is of the plans? Because I'm not finding it.
So concept, but I think the loading zone, we talked about on the Forest Park area. Is that what you were asking about?
Yes.
We're showing. Yeah, Ms. Mona, what we're showing is 14 spaces, 14 stripe bases. And as I mentioned, 2 of those will probably go away for that loading zone area. And it would basically be dead center in the building. So where you see the shaded concrete parking, what Jared had described was a ramp system and steps that exist right there. So right dead center in the middle.
What page is that on, sir?
101 of the concept plan.
Mona, it's parking in the street. It's street park.
It is. That's right.
Is he telling me that's on the very first page?
It is.
All right, super tiny.
Right above Forest Park, 150-foot wide avenue. Those perpendicular lines are spaces. So it's a widened street. So there is a lay-by for parking on the north curb line. And then you see the shaded gray just above that. That's that platform area, the ADA ramp, accessible into the residential component of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Okay. Mr. Hamill, go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you. My only comment was that move-ins and move-outs will be scheduled with building staff. Residents are not allowed to just decide, whenever they're moving in and moving out. So there will be no scenario in which multiple residents are trying to move in and move out during the same time slot. It will be strictly enforced by the building staff and strictly controlled. We will also require the residents to provide movers insurance policies. So it is a very strict procedure, and we will not have any issues with crowd control or multiple movements happening concurrently.
So are you stating that there will be designated times given to those who are moving in?
That is correct.
And out.
And out.
And that is typically done outside of peak elevator hours. For example, if people are leaving to go to work between 7 and 9, move-ins and move-outs are strictly only allowed between 9 and 4 p.m., 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
And all of your dumpsters are located inside the building?
That's correct.
And how often are they picked up?
That is something that we will have to work out with our property management company, but typically it's done at least twice a week.
And did you say they were that was cleaned daily?
That's correct. The building superintendent, as part of typical daily procedures, that trash room is cleaned daily, because if it's not, any odors or smells could actually travel down the hallway. So it's very important that that is cleaned at least once a day.
And what do you do? What's the process for when people get rid of their furniture when they're moving out and they don't want to take it with them, and then they pile it all up in that room, and then you have a move-in?
I believe there will be separate procedures for bulk items. So if people want to dispose of a sofa or a dining table, that will be a separately scheduled pickup outside of typical trash pickup.
Okay.
Any other board members have questions? Okay. Mr. Cooper, had you concluded your testimony?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone here to testify in?
Anthony, I think Mike, Alderman Browning wanted to say something.
Well, yeah, I guess is there anyone here to testify in favor of this appeal? Alderman Browning.
Thank you, Chair. So I issued a letter of support for this project, and I think I say it well there, that the variance is being
Mr. Browning,
requested.
all right, we need to have you sworn in. I
Sure
apologize.
thing, yeah.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And then state your name and mailing address for the record, Alderman.
My name is Michael Browning. My mail address is at City Hall at 1200 Market Street.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. So as I said, I issued a letter of support for this project. I do believe the variances being requested here are reasonable. And so I'll just take the time today to discuss a couple of things I've heard on this call that, as I understand, is going on with this development. I don't see a concern with from the community perspective. First is that of parking. If we want to create a walkable environment in our city, we need to stop being slaves to the parking gods. You know, we cannot keep building more and more parking and not expect that to induce demand to park more vehicles and then create more traffic. So I think when we see the issue here with the parking garage, I'm not too worried about their request to have a fewer spaces. The other thing I'll note is that over on Vandeventer Avenue, there's a series of stoplights before you approach Vandeventer from the north, and traffic does back up in those spots at certain times, which would actually mean that if the parking were to access, for the parking for this building were to access the alley, that would actually just exacerbate the traffic issues on Vandeventer. The section of Forest Park where people can pull into the garage where they're proposing the garage entrance to be actually makes sense. It not only is it far enough away from the intersection of Vandeventer and Forest Park, but it also is a very underutilized section of Forest Park right now. Even IKEA across the street has a frontage road that serves their parking lot and not a direct curb cut or anything like that. So you're not really intersecting with IKEA traffic at all. And that right-hand-most lane in Forest Park is just very underutilized, as well as the parking lane right next to there. I think the concerns about moving in and out are addressed by not only scheduling move in and move out, as most big buildings do, but also by the fact that it's a rare situation that won't routinely add to the traffic issues in that area. I think that this is, again, what we need to be doing is building developments that are more oriented towards walkable environments. So if I look up and down Forest Park Avenue, I see buildings like this that actually do very well. The Metropolitan Flats down at Taylor and Forest Park is a great example. Just across the street and down the ways a little in the other direction, we have all those new Foundry developments, which have garages, which actually enter and exit right off of Vandeventer. And that's going to be, a struggle at times, I acknowledge, but we do live in a city and there is traffic during rush hour, right? It's not the end of the world. It does clear. So I think that this building will be a nice addition. It will create more retail and activate that spot, which is needed, considering IKEA across the street does not really activate the street because it is so set back. And its proximity to SLU and Cortex means that you're going to see professionals move there that will want to be able to walk to work or walk to their destinations around there. And so, it's a block away from the 42 bus line. It is a block and a half away from a Metrolink station. And the building's form and materials is a very nice addition. We've been trying to add more housing to the Cortex district. What we see in Cortex is that it's very difficult to maintain restaurants and stores in that area because of the lack of foot traffic around there. So adding more housing is going to be key to turning that around and continuing to watch that section of our city grow. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any, but I do want to offer my support for this project, as well as say that I have not heard any opposition from the community about this project. It's been an empty lot for a long time, and we're really excited to see something get going here.
Any board members have any questions? Okay, thank you, Alderman. Let's see. First person who had their hand up was Mr. Sote.
Yes.
Okay, let's get you sworn in.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Name's Rob Soti. I'm the Vice President of District Operations for Cortex. Mailing address is 4240 Duncan Avenue, Suite 200, St. Louis, Missouri, 63110. And I just wanted to come here today and say Cortex is, fully supportive of this project, and as well as all the appeals for the variances that DMG is seeking for the project.
Okay. Any board members have questions? All right, thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. Mr. Begany. Let's get you sworn in.
Okay.
Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
It will. So Stephen Begany, 4448 Oakland Avenue in the Grove, Forest Park Southeast. So I've lived in the Central West End and the Grove for 25 years now, and I am really excited about this project. It was sad to see the building torn down. 10 years ago, when we lost that density. Now we have an opportunity to restore it. And I just want to point out that we are hearing from two developers who are sitting in Lower Manhattan, which is infinitely more dense than the site we're talking about. Thousands of people move in and out of buildings in denser locations than this every day, including right here. I'm sitting downtown where there are apartment towers within a block of me that have no issues with move-ins and move-outs, and they're much denser sites. You don't see trucks clogging the streets. There's no designated move-in, move-out areas in some of these towers. So it's discouraging for me as a 25-year resident of both the Central West End and Forest Park Southeast to hear us micromanaging these issues on a site that really isn't an issue. This is this has plenty of perimeter along the streets. The developers made very common sense accommodations about how this process works. So I would just ask that we not micromanage the move-ins and move-outs of a site that is frankly easier than ones around us already and is not really an issue in large cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Any board members have any questions? Okay. Mr. Kisilov. You seem to be muted. Still can't hear you. No. Okay, well, is there anyone else here to testify in favor of this appeal? Right. Is there anyone here to testify in opposition to this appeal? Okay, well, with that, I will read into the record exhibits. Certified copy of the zoning ordinance, appeal to the board, basis of denial, meeting notice letter, City Journal public notices, photographs, Sanborn maps, a memo from Planning and Urban Design, Cultural Resources Office review signed by Bob Bettis, Sam Fiorello, President and CEO of Cortex, Missouri Nonprofit Corporation, not sure what that is, and a letter of support from Alderman Michael Browning. And with that, I will consider this appeal having been heard.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Drea, can you read appeal number 11934?
Appeal number 11934, 3641 through 43, Wisconsin Avenue.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Again, my name is Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the City of St. Louis, and I'll be representing the Building Commissioner. I'm here to present evidence of an appeal to do interior and exterior alterations per plans at 3641 to 43 Wisconsin Avenue. I'd like to present as evidence for this case photos and aerials of the said property, plans for the project, and a certified copy of the City of St. Louis zoning ordinance. The basis for denial of BL Real Estate Group, OZF, LLC, care of Justin Bukowick, concerning the building commissioner's refusal to issue a building permit, authorizing the petitioner to do interior and exterior alterations per plans at 3641 to 43 Wisconsin Avenue in city block number 1661.00 is as follows. The present zoning for this address is Zone J, Industrial District. The intent of the applicable zoning provisions are to provide adequate light, air, privacy, and convenience of access to property. It's also to lessen or avoid congestion in public streets and highways in the city of St. Louis and surrounding areas, and also regulate and restrict the location and use of buildings, structures, and land for trade, industry, residence, and other uses, and to regulate and restrict the intensity of such uses. The applicable zoning code provisions are section 26.56.020 use regulations. The use regulations are the same as those in the I Central Business District, except that motor fuel pumping stations that meet the site requirements specified in section 26.40.027 shall be permitted. Carry-out restaurants that sell to customers who are in cars or who consume the sold products in cars parked on the carry-out restaurant premises, or sell products through a sales window to customers who are in cars for immediate consumption by the customer either on or off the premises that meet the site requirements specified in section 26.40.026B1 or 2, as appropriate, shall be permitted. And a building or premises may be used for an automobile body, fender repair shop, used car lot, or car leasing or rental lot, and provided further that no building shall be in any case hereafter erected, nor shall any existing building be converted, reconstructed, or structurally altered for dwelling purposes, except where 40% or more of the frontage is occupied by dwellings. And then also section 26.56.030 parking and loading regulations. The parking and loading regulations are the same for uses enumerated in chapters 26.20 through 26.20 inclusive. Evidence of lawful nonconformity has not been presented. So in summary, the applicant's applying for a building permit to do interior and exterior alterations to renovate these two buildings into 12 studio apartments. The J District does not allow for dwelling purposes unless 40% of the block frontage is already residential, and that's not the case in this block frontage. Therefore, a use variance is required prior to approval. And then in addition, an area variance is required for parking. For 12 units, they would need 12 off-street parking spaces, and there are 6 provided. The applicant has provided like a shared parking agreement for a lot across the street, but the lot is a gravel lot that doesn't meet the parking requirements. Therefore, they need an area variance for lack of parking provided on site. The City of St. Louis Planning and Urban Design Agency states that there's no adopted neighborhood plan covering this location. The 2005 Strategic Land Use Plan calls this a neighborhood preservation area. The granting of a variance would be in keeping with the neighborhood preservation area's intent to promote quality rehabilitation that is sensitive to the character of existing residences. The 2025 Strategic Land Use Plan calls this a higher intensity neighborhood. The granting of a variance would be in keeping with this designation's intent of supporting many types of housing, especially denser multi-unit buildings with easy access to existing and planned transit corridors. Therefore, planning staff finds the request of appeal number 11934 is in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan. Are there any questions from the board?
Okay, let's hear from the appellant.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for today. So the first.
Hold on just a second.
Sorry.
I need to get you sworn in, and then I need your name and mailing address for the record.
Joseph Lucido, 5239 Wilson Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri, 63110.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, continue.
So for the first part of this, the existing multifamily frontage of the building already exceeds the 40% residential frontage threshold required by section 26.56.020. In fact, it's 46%. It's 30.5 feet of the current building is the frontage. And then the total frontage of the lot that we've consolidated is 65 feet. So that 30 divided by 65 gets you 46% of the total frontage. So we should be in code to do the dwelling alterations for this project. Additionally, what we submitted is we showed that there's 10 parking spots on site, and then we do also have the 4 additional parking spots that was discussed that are across the street in the gravel lot. If we need to make revisions to that to show that, we can maybe figure out a way to do that. But this project here is a project that's basically meant to increase the affordable housing in the neighborhood. We currently have 2 very large buildings that we're going to add some studios, 1-bedrooms, and 3-bedroom apartments to. Some of the studios are going to be 250 square feet, some of them 370 square feet, and then the 3-bedroom apartment is going to be a little more than 750 square feet. But we are intent on rehabbing this building as we've done with other buildings in the neighborhood. We agree with investing in taking this dilapidated building that's sat vacant for many years. We've been in the area for over 5 years, and it's been completely vacant the whole time and been overrun with vagrants and other bad things and drug trafficking that's been going on. We took over the building, immediately eradicated all of that, and want to build these 14 units to increase affordable housing. We believe this will have social and sustainable impact. We want to convert the 14 units primarily to studios so we can expand the affordable stock housing. And then also the building that we plan to build is going to have energy efficiency and sustainability upgrades that would, we believe, enhance the value of the neighborhood, including solar on top, heat pumps, and high efficiency appliances as well. So we're looking forward to doing this project to kind of prove out a model of building sustainable, affordable housing that will enhance the economic and social value of the neighborhood. So we request your approval for our appeal, and we're willing to take any questions you may have on it.
Any questions from the board?
Anthony, he said parking spots across the street of the gravel lot, and I don't believe you're allowed to park on a gravel lot. It has to be paved or concrete or something. If I'm correct, the 2 architects, I'll defer to the 2 architects to help me with that one. So that wouldn't be your parking, or Evan?
Yeah, Mel, this project it needs a use variance for residential use on a block frontage that is currently not 40%. So the math that was described is not how that's calculated. And then also the parking has to be provided on the site or through a conditional use on an alternative site, but it has to meet parking standards, which would require that it be bituminous material, which would be concrete or asphalt. So that isn't allowed to meet the requirements. So they are here asking for the exception for use and an exception for parking per the plans that are in front of you.
But his statement was gravel lot. That's not allowed.
Correct. That is not allowed. I mean, like somebody would have to, but that is not, I mean.
I just want to make that statement. You know, he said we have additional parking across here on a gravel lot. That doesn't count. You just strike it off.
That does not count. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I want.
And Mr. Winkler, I'm sorry, then if you could explain to me the calculation for the 40%, because for the plans that we've have submitted, that's what I would figure it to be. But if you have a different way of calculating it, I'd love to hear so I can understand it better.
Yeah, it's the total block frontage and it would be occupied dwellings. So it takes the other parcels that exist on the property and that would be divided by the total block frontage.
When you say the other parcels that exist on the property, it's
Or
just
on the
one
block.
On the block.
Okay. And so, is this, I guess you're saying because the place across the street takes up a significant amount of, it's not a frontage, but even though everything on our side of the street is all residential.
So I'm not the one who reviewed this project, but based on what I see, it looks like there's 2 vacant lots adjacent to the north.
Across the street, which is where the parking the additional parking overflow would have.
The 2 buildings that are directly north to your parcel, are those vacant?
No. Those are, and we're the owners of those buildings as well.
There's people living there?
Yes, there's people living there.
All right, well, and then all of the homes to the south are?
They're all occupied. Yeah, so all homes to the south are occupied. I don't know the status of every single person, if it's a renter or if it's an owner, but they're all occupied.
Okay. Well, I am not, again, I'm not the one who reviewed this project, but based on the project plan reviewers, they determined that the frontage on the block side that you're on is not 40% of the block frontage.
Okay.
So I can't speak to their determination other than what they have written for us.
Okay, understand. And yeah, I'll go on record as saying then that on our side of the block, it's all residential houses and buildings. And so I think we'd actually way over exceed the 40% requirement if we were to factor those in as well, because it's very small lots with houses on them. So without, pulling out a calculator and doing the math right now, the second I'm almost positive that we'd way over exceed that requirement of 40%.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Lucido. Any other board members have any questions? All right. Is there anyone here to testify in favor of this appeal?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Todrovich, let's get you sworn in.
Cole Todorovich, 2607 South Kings Highway Boulevard.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead with your testimony.
I own a property, 3609 Wisconsin, on their block, and they own another 2, low multi-unit buildings there, and they've been a great addition to the neighborhood because they made what was going on in those buildings stop and have been, take care of any problems and keep it clean and have trash service and mow the lawn. And the buildings that they're talking about converting have been a real problem and are, I think there was a fire in one at one point, very dilapidated and, problematic with people using the space that shouldn't be. That's really all I have to say.
Okay. Any board members have any questions? Thank you. Is there anyone else here to testify in favor of this appeal? Okay. Is there anyone here to testify in opposition of this appeal? Okay, well, with that, I will read into the record exhibits. Sorry. Certified copy of the zoning ordinance, appeal to the board, basis of denial, meeting notice letter, City Journal public notices, photographs, Sanborn maps, memo from Planning and Urban Design, copy of lease agreement for parking space, letter of opposition from Alderwoman Kara Spencer, letter of opposition on behalf of the Marine Villa Neighborhood Organization from Stephanie Botkin, President, Marine Villa Neighborhood Association. And with that, I will consider this appeal having been heard. Drea, can you read appeal number 11880?
Appeal number 11880, 5517 Louisiana Avenue.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. My name is Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the City of St. Louis, and I'll be representing the Building Commissioner. I'm here to present evidence of an appeal to construct a two-family dwelling per plans at 5517 Louisiana Avenue, continued from November 6, 2024. I'd like to present as evidence for this case photos and aerials of the said property, plans for the project, and a certified copy of the City of St. Louis zoning ordinance. On November 6, 2024, the Board of Adjustment of the City of St. Louis met to hear your appeal number 11880 pursuant to section 26.84.040 of the zoning code concerning the building commissioner's determination that it would violate the zoning code to issue your permit to build a new two-family dwelling per plans at 5517 Louisiana Avenue. On November 6, 2024, Board Member Parsley made a motion to table appeal number 11880 for up to 90 days to allow you to meet with the alderman and, if possible, the neighborhood association. Board Member Klitzing seconded the motion. The motion was passed by unanimous vote of the board. The hearing will be scheduled for a later date. Respectfully, Andrea Gutierrez, lead zoning specialist. The basis for denial of WCG Development, LLC, care of Judon Graham, concerning the building commissioner's refusal to issue a building permit authorizing the petitioner to build a two-family dwelling per plans at 5517 Louisiana Avenue, located in city block number 2847.00 is as follows. Present zoning for this address is Zone B, two-family dwelling district. The intent of the applicable zoning provisions are to fix reasonable standards to which buildings and structures shall conform. The applicable zoning code provisions are section 26.16.020, structures prohibited. No structure shall be erected, placed, enlarged, or structurally altered unless such action shall make the premises upon which it shall stand conform to the regulations for the district in which the premises are located, unless authorized by other provisions of the zoning code. Also, section 26.24.060, side yard. The side yard regulations are the same as those in the A single-family dwelling district, provided, however, that any structure having two or more dwelling units, the principal entrance of which opens upon a side yard and does not face an abutting street, shall provide on each side of the building a side yard having a width of not less than 8 feet. Section 26.24.080A, density of population. Single-family dwellings shall have a lot area of not less than 4,000 square feet, except that lots of record prior to the effective date of Ordinance 45309 may be used for one single-family dwelling, provided the yard regulations of this section are complied with. Other dwellings, except as provided in Section 26.24.020C, shall not have a lot area of less than 2,500 square feet for each dwelling unit. Evidence of lawful nonconformity has not been presented. So in summary, this application is applying for a building permit to construct a two-family dwelling on a vacant lot located in the B two-family dwelling district. We originally heard this application back in November, at which time the two entrances to each of the dwelling units was located on the side yard. They were asked to meet with the neighborhood association and the alderperson. They had made several attempts, which they documented, to meet with both of those entities. Carondelet Living, since this application, has indicated both to this applicant and to city staff that they are not actually a neighborhood association and feel uncomfortable commenting on these types of appeals. And then the applicant also reached out to Alderman Shane Cohn, who requested some modifications that had not commented on those modifications. So the applicant did actually make those modifications themselves, which you have plans now. They've included some brick components on the front. They changed the type of roof line, and they made the main entrance from the front unit on Louisiana, and then the rear unit will have an entrance off the alley. The City of St. Louis Planning and Urban Design, oh, sorry, I forgot to say, what that does though is actually decrease the number of variances they need, and they, with the new plans, only need an area variance for density of population. 2 dwelling units would require that the lot be 5,000 square feet. This lot is 4,275 square feet. They no longer need the other 2 area variances for the side yard entrances and a side yard that's less than 8 feet. The City of St. Louis Planning and Urban Design Agency states that there's no adopted neighborhood plan covering this location. The 2005 Strategic Land Use Plan calls this area a neighborhood preservation area. The granting of a variance is in keeping with the neighborhood preservation area's intent to promote quality rehabilitation that is sensitive to the character of existing residences. And then the 2025 plan calls this a medium intensity neighborhood. The granting of a variance would be in keeping with this designation's intent of supporting many types of housing, including smaller scale multi-unit buildings. Therefore, planning staff finds the request of appeal number 11880 is in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan. Are there any questions from the board?
Okay, let's hear from the appellant. Ms. Graham?
My name is Judon Graham, representing WCG Development. Address is 2415 East Camelback Road, Suite 700, Phoenix, Arizona, 85016.
Okay, and we need to have you sworn in as well.
Okay.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, go ahead with your testimony.
Okay. As Evan mentioned, this is a continuation from a November meeting, and we did attempt on a number of occasions to reach out to Alderman Cohen. We were successful in reaching him 2 days after that meeting and speaking to him about his feedback for how the building should look and things of that nature, and some of the finishings on the outside, the exterior, and the interior. We adopted those changes. We also did a walking tour of that neighborhood so that we could look at the various structures for the single level buildings. And Patrick Weber, who's my architect, came up with a design and a concept that we then immediately sent to Alderman Cohen for his feedback. Unfortunately, we just have not had any success reaching Alderman Cohen. We've tried to also contact the city, and Evan's been very helpful of who else we could speak to or talk to. We've left the draft as is, which is what you guys see in your packet. The site plan from the original building, it occupies that same space. Nothing has changed. So it will sit identical to the other plan that we gave you. We just didn't fill those plans out because we were hoping, amongst hopes, to get some feedback from someone that would look at this particular design and let us know if they wanted to make any changes or if they had any questions. So as I was speaking to Evan, we just held off on completing the entire packet for the plan. But again, it occupies the same site radius as the initial. The difference, of course, is the roof we changed. We changed the facade in the front. We added the brick, which was the request at that time. We're more than happy to extend the brick back a little bit more so that as you look down the street, you could see it kind of wrap a little bit more onto the side of the building, where we don't have any issues with that whatsoever. We just haven't received any feedback. I did speak with Andrea Gutierrez, or actually contacted Andrea Gutierrez today to see if we had any last minute feedback that came in. And it looks like we did have one email message from a gentleman I think who's going to speak after me. And he had his email dated March 25th. So unfortunately, I'm not able to respond to everything, but had, of course, we received his feedback sooner when we were requesting all of this feedback all of last year. And then again, the appeals for people to give us feedback from November to the present, we would have definitely included him and his wife in the conversation, because I think they give some good input. I really researched, there's a comment made about this neighborhood is a historic neighborhood and may have some type of components that we need to be aware of. And both my Alderman Cohen at the time and also my architect and myself, we just couldn't find where that was substantiated. But again, we're more than willing to modify the look and feel to make it, acceptable to all of the residents there. We have no issue with that, but we just can't operate in the dark if we don't get feedback from anyone. So we're here today. We're hoping that you all will accept our request for the density requirement, since that is now the only remaining zoning issue. And I look forward to working with all of you.
Any board members have any questions?
Oh, I have a quick one. How far back are you wrapping that brick at the moment?
Well, the one that we show in the packet was just a draft, so we just put it in the front. But both Patrick, myself, and speaking with Alderman Cohen, we mentioned that if we needed to pull it back a little bit further, maybe about, halfway there, so that if you're walking down the street, it still looks like it's the brick. You can't really tell the siding part of it. We were more than happy to do so, but we didn't get any feedback on that. So we just kept it with that first draft, but we're more than happy to work with you guys and to modify it where it's a tasteful design.
Hey, Anthony, typically, what do we do, like 3 feet? Something like that? When we wrap?
Typically we would do it the distance, whatever the distance is between the building and property line, we would take that distance back.
Okay. So the distance between the building and the property line, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Right, I'm just noting that. Mona, do you have any other questions?
No, ma'am, I don't. Okay. Well, actually, and I just don't have the plans right in front of me at the moment. They're on the, I have to click out and go over there. Where's the second exit? So you have the front entrance and then they exit on the side?
Yeah, we couldn't do the side. We'd asked for the side and you guys said, no, we couldn't do the side. So we put the main entrance for the first unit in the front, and then we have to have an entrance in the back that hits right, basically goes out to the parking pad, to the alley. So, but in the other design, we had it to the side so that we didn't have a door facing the alley. But you all mentioned that would not be acceptable. So our architect moved it to the back. So you have one in the front and one in the back.
So there's not an extra, there's no egress, there's the front entrance and that's it?
There's a front entrance to the unit in the front, and then the unit that is back behind it, there's a front entrance to that unit, but that's from the alley.
So they don't have but one entrance and exit?
Yes, we have a design to do the 2 doors on the side, but again, the variance issue comes into play when we do the side entrances. which I think looks a little bit more attractive, but again, based on your regulations, we weren't authorized to do the side entrances.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other board members have any questions? Okay, thanks, Ms. Graham. Is there anyone here to testify in favor of this appeal? Okay, is there anyone here to testify in opposition of this appeal? All right, well, with that, I will read into the record exhibits, a certified copy of the zoning ordinance, appeal to the board, basis of denial, meeting notice letter, City Journal public notices, photographs, Sanborn maps, memo from planning and urban design, email for letter of support request to Carondelet Historical Society submitted by the petitioner, email of opposition from Nene Harris, email of communication for a letter of support to Fred Hessel submitted by petitioner, a copy of proceedings from November 6, 2024, meeting notice letter for March 26, 2025, City Journal public notices for March 26, 2025, photographs for March 26, 2025, Sanborn maps for March 26, 2025, memo from Planning and Urban Design for March 26, 2025, email to the Historic District from the petitioner requesting support, email to Alderman Shane Cohn with copy of plans from petitioner, evidence that they are trying to work with him, and email letter of opposition from Nene Harris and Roman Cordova. And with that, I will consider this appeal having been heard. That concludes testimony portion of this hearing. We will now go into deliberations. Thanks, Ms. Kearns, for your
Thanks,
service.
So it's good for me to exit out?
Yeah, you don't have to stay for deliberations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, commissioners, do we need a 5-minute recess or shall we continue?
Continue as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, let's continue. Appeal number 11915.
I think you got to recuse yourself here.
I do.
Anybody have I'll take over the chairmanship at this point, I guess.
Thank you, Joe.
If Anthony is not eligible. Anybody got any comments on this one?
I have no issues here.
Let's take a vote.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Moved by Mona, seconded by me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mel?
Aye, yeah. I said aye.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you. Okay, 4-0.
Motion to approve in a second. I got beat both times.
You whispered.
Okay. Moving on. Go ahead, Anthony. Unrecuse yourself.
Findings, Mr. Clitzy.
Oh, findings.
Won't be a detriment.
Okay, won't be a detriment. No conditions, I take it?
Yep.
Nope.
Thanks, Mona.
Okay, there you go. Take it away, Anthony.
Thanks, Joe. Okay. Appeal number 11918, 4630 London.
I don't have.
Well, this could probably be good for the Indigo. I mean, a nice little garden area.
Yeah.
Can't see that as a problem.
I'll make the motion to approve this one.
I'll second it.
Irene beat you to it.
Thanks, Irene.
Okay.
Moved by Mel, seconded by Irene. All of those in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
And I think it'll be an asset to that neighborhood. I think it'll be just a wonderful asset to that facility.
Yep. Thanks, Mel. Appeal number 11919, 3901 Forest Park Avenue.
Well, I think we all asked really good questions and they had good answers. I liked hearing from the alderman. He was quite passionate about the building and I liked that. And I'm fine with everything that he said. I do have concerns, but he doesn't seem to have concerns, so I'm okay with that. This is his neighborhood. Does anybody else have concerns? Joe?
I have concerns, but it's their building. I'm not going to stop them because I don't think that they're going to have loading problems. They'll work it out if they do. I just can see the first time I turn right on the Forest Park Parkway heading home that I run into a moving van that's half in and half out and traffic is slowed down at Vanderbilt. I'll say, but I'm not going to stop them for that. So,
Any conditions do you think we need to put on them or just let it be?
well, they did testify that no deliveries will be done before 9 o'clock and after whatever rush hour time.
Yeah,
I
they
don't know if
said
that's-
they would do only move-ins from 9 to 4.
9 to 4.
They have to be scheduled.
Just a word of caution, we have to be able to easily
Enforce
monitor
whatever we
those
say.
things. So,
Yeah, but if
you-
we
I
put it
just
on
think
there, they might do it, Evan.
if my concern is one that's going to stop the project, then I don't think it's a concern that I can enforce. They've put forth a plan. I just think that it's a mistake, but that's my own opinion, and I'm not getting paid for it. So
I agree with you, Joe. I think the plan could be better, but I don't think that there is enough here to support opposing it.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'm going to put a condition on there, per their testimony, that they will schedule move in and move out between 9 and 4. And they will not become a problem property for our normal thingy. And we wish them the best of luck.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Mona, seconded by Mel. All of those in favor?
Aye.
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 All of those opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. Findings?
Detriment as conditioned.
Thanks,
Okay.
Mona.
Be a good project for the city.
All right. Appeal number 11934, 3641 Wisconsin.
I'd like to see them go back to the neighborhood and the older person. They've got objections from both sides of this, and they don't have a parking because when they testified for parking, they said, "Oh, the gravel lot across the street, and that's not going to support any additional parking they need because it doesn't meet the parking criteria."
I don't think I quite realized they were doing a boarding house in the beginning.
So that's not their application. Otherwise, they would be required to do plat and petition. I don't know if there's miscommunication in the community about what they're doing or what the term boarding house actually means, but I did see that also in the letter of opposition. But that is
Oh,
not
when I
their
read that, yeah.
application. It's
But
studio
they're-
apartments.
Yeah,
It's
there's
what?
studio apartments. They're very small apartments, but that's where I think a lot of this is heading, Mona. If you want to have apartments that are less than $1,000 a month, you're going to have to get them down to small size. Developers are looking to
That is
charge
an
$2,
issue.
$2.50 a square foot. So if you got an apartment that's 275 square feet, you do the math, and that's still $600, $700 a month.
I think there's a need for that, though.
Oh yeah, there is. And I'm not concerned about the parking. They do have,
I'm not either.
didn't they say 10 spaces?
I
Odds
think
are the people that are gonna be living there, half of them aren't gonna have cars.
They're not going to have cars.
Was it six? They needed 12 spaces and they had 6.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if any of them have cars.
Yeah, I'm not really given studio, this is obviously going to be a lower income property. I don't think all of them will have cars, so I don't have an issue with that. Yeah, I saw the opposition, but I that's not really what was mentioned is not what's before us. As far as it being a boarding house. So I'm not, yeah.
These
I
are
read that and I thought,
definitely,
am I confused? I thought, did I not hear that right? Did maybe the
these are
neighborhood doesn't
definitely,
understand?
this is definitely not a boarding house because each of the units have a kitchen, have a bathroom, and
Right.
open space. They're studio apartments.
They're studio apartments, yeah.
It's nice to see that some of New York is moving to St. Louis because these are the size of apartments my daughter lives in. But it's something that's needed, and I think this is probably a good reuse of these buildings, to be quite frank.
And just so y'all know, the definition for boarding house is a rooming house where for compensation meals are provided. And that's not what's happening.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Let's slow that roll just a second if we could, Joe. Could we put on there that it won't become a problem property?
Oh, certainly.
Do we put a little control on that?
And Mona, you mean, sorry, Chairman.
And I would also add that it does not become a rooming house.
Physically, I don't think it can, Anthony, if they're doing kitchens and bathrooms in each of the units.
It should be a unit, and I agree with that.
So I don't see that as being a boarding house. I see it as being very economical housing.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I just wanted to clarify, Mona, when you say problem property, you mean the standard one about shall not be issued a nuisance letter? Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm not using the correct word. Thank you for helping me.
Fine. Yep.
I agree with that, and I'll make that as the motion. No nuisance property.
And just that one condition, Joe?
Yeah, I don't know what else I could condition it with.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion moved by Joe, seconded by Mona. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All of those opposed? Motion carries. Findings.
Won't be a detriment as condition.
Excellent, thanks, Joe. And finally, appeal number 11880, 5517 Louisiana.
I like the change.
They're gonna wrap their siding, and like I said, the density isn't a problem. It's just, I don't have a problem with that.
So I just want to be clear, the plans in front of you don't have the wrapped siding. So if that's something you want to see, you need to make that a condition of this approval.
Very simple. You say wrap the brick the same dimension as the side yard. That's a condition.
Is that the motion you're making, Joe?
I wasn't going to make the motion. I was making a suggestion of a condition.
How far back is that?
Let me pull the plan, sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm making you work there, Evan.
No, it's okay. It's just hard to read.
It's the
on
same
this
question
phone.
I keep asking.
It looks like 4 feet. So it'd be 4 feet on each side.
Okay. I'll make a motion to wrap the brick 4 feet. We'll just make it even, 4 feet.
So what's your motion, Mona?
I make a motion to approve with wrapping the brick 4 feet back on the sides.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, moved by Mona, seconded by Mel. All of those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Mona, findings.
Won't be a detriment as conditioned.
Thank you.
Thank you,
right.
Evan.
And so, let's see, that concludes our deliberations. Let's see, we've got meeting minutes.
Yeah, I move to approve the minutes of Wednesday, March 12, 2025.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Irene, seconded by Mel. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All of those opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. New business, Evan.
No new business.
Are we meeting next week?
We do have a meeting next week. I have jury duty, so I may not be here, but if I don't have to go, I will be here. So you may have Catherine next week.
We'll pray for you, Evan.
Stay off a murder trial. You'll be there forever.
Oh God, let's hope that's not it.
Okay. I guess.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Looks like we got 2 seconds there. Moved by Mel, seconded by Irene. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All
Opposed?
right, see y'all next week.
I'm opposed because I didn't get the second.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right. See you
See
guys.
everybody next week.